Buddy, it's Ted Prodromo, and it's Tuesdays with Ted. And we have a guest from the Titans group, right? We met in Brian Kurtz's Titans Accelerator group,
Yeah.
and Phil and I connected. We've been on lots of calls together. And I really resonate with what your topic is today about being laid off over 50, because I've been there, done that.
Right. Yeah. So, hi, Ted. Thanks for having me. This is really, really cool. Um, and of course, the great Brian Kurtz and all the very amazing entrepreneurs that I've met, including Ted through that group's been has been fantastic. Like Ted said here, we're at this part of the economic cycle which can be very tricky for people. Unfortunately, um, and I play hockey with a bunch of guys, just as an aside, that this has happened to, where you get to that point in your career where Murphy's Law kicks in a bit, and the economic cycle and your peak earning years are not exactly lined up,
Right.
which is really unfortunate, but that's how it goes. And helping people navigate that is really an important thing. So thanks for having me.
Yeah. That's interesting because I've been working. I kind of stepped back and like, who are my clients last year? I was going through like most of my clients are over 50. They've worked for high tech or they were senior executives and they've been laid off.
Mm-hmm. Right. So we work specifically with GenX. So think of about 45 to 55 or 60 or so, right when life gets real serious.
Yeah.
And I'll raise my hand to this one, where you have your business, your retirement or financial independence, whatever you want to call it. I have one in college next year. I have aging parents that are a challenge. I have aging in-laws, and then somewhere in there, I would like to have a life or something that resembles a life.
Right.
And unfortunately, with all that going on, your finances, so to speak, tend to be like that treadmill that you bought that's you using to hang clothes on in the back room of your house.
Right.
Kind of just one of those things where you'll get to it, or you're contributing to your 401k or whatever in that. But at this stage, that's not going to get you where you want to go. So.
Right. Things are changing fast.
Yeah. In that tech world too, what we see a lot is something everybody can think about and for sure look at. Tech guys are guys, girls, tech employees are famous for what's called concentrated positions. So they'll have company stock, they'll have options or what have you, and then they'll have investments. And even if they just have a standard index fund, the top five widely held stocks in that fund are also, for the most part, tech stocks, Apple, Google. So before you know it, without any effort at all, 30% of all your investable assets are in quote unquote tech, which exposes you to a lot of risk. So one of the things we're really helping our clients with and prospective clients is understanding that and making reasonable changes in that. It's it's interesting. Nobody wants to sell their stock when they're working for the company for some weird reason, like a psychological thing. But boy, oh boy, when something happens and things change a little bit, it's a lot easier to get them to make those decisions.
Right. Then it's too late.
Well, like it can be, right? I mean, that's the unfortunate part of this is economic cycles can create this weird vortex, if you will, of we saw some banking issues. You see some a lot of tech layoffs, and then weak markets, and it all kind of correlates to one there. And we've lived through '08. I've been in the market since 1988. Uh, you know, uh, the market doesn't care what you need. Let's just put it that way.
I remember the 90s was a wild ride with the first .com wave.
Right. I mean, that was amazing. And then 2000, 2001, like that.
Yeah.
And all those companies that you had, remember Ask Jeeves and pets.com and all those companies that you had to own that went from 9 to 900. I mean, Yahoo, right? Are dead. Most of them are gone.
Right.
So it's a delicate time, of course, but always, it also gives people a little bit of a pause and to use that to your advantage. So the message is always, now we can take a step back, review obviously the entire picture, and really get you on solid footing for whatever it is that you're going to pursue. Now,
It seems like the swings are wilder than they used to be, up and down with the market,
yeah.
and they're more frequent than they were. It would be like every 20 years before, and then it's 10 years. Now it's like every couple years.
Well, yeah, that's an excellent point. Some of that has to do with market structure. Some of that has to do with the speed of information. So, what would take, let's just say, a fund, who knows how long, to place orders every day manually and execute in this and that for months, is now a program, send, and it just bangs it out automatically. It's
Yeah.
everything is compressed, and the markets, everything is highly can become highly correlated,
Yeah.
which is what we saw last year. Stocks down, bonds down, huge
Yeah.
record levels.
Right.
That's fairly unusual activity, but something you need to know. You need to have that in your playbook as well, right? Because it can happen. Um, anyway,
You can't do
I
the
hope
Warren Buffett buy and hold forever
well,
unless you have the right stocks.
yeah, I mean, there's something to be said for that. I'm a big believer in long-term hold forever. Portfolio construction has to be right. I think the part that people miss with that, and we can use Uncle Warren as an example, is liquidity. He doesn't care. He's got money. He's got liquid money. He's not worried about putting his kids through college or anything like that. So to him, I don't even know if he looks at his accounts. Who even knows? But my recommendation, and one of the first things that we do, is we look at our clients or prospective clients' liquidity. I think you'll find this interesting. We view it as a combination of uh, any money that you can get to after tax. So a taxable investment account or trust. Some people have weird life insurance, cash value stuff that you can access without a tax consequences. And we figure that based on your living expenses. So let's just say you have 300,000, you spend 100, that would be a 3 score. So you could live 3 years off of your liquid assets.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. But that's a great place to start for people, because back to your amazing original question, if I could live 5 years off of my liquidity, I could care less what the market does today. It's just annoying.
Right.
If I can live 5 months off of my liquidity, I'm the guy on the golf course checking his phone every 15 minutes,
Right.
which is a terrible way to live. So liquidity, not too much. We're a cash hoarder because inflation's going to get you, but
Hmm.
a fair, reasonable amount given where you are in your life and your obligations. I always tell my clients, and I'd much rather have somebody invest less and be comfortable because I know the outcomes will be significantly better
Right.
than you know invest more and chew on your fingernails for the next 5 years.
Right.
It just doesn't work. Just doesn't work. So, but that's a big part of what we do. It's they don't we don't learn that anywhere.
Yeah.
Nobody. I wish they did. Nobody teaches us. Um, and when you get your cash flow gets impaired, let's just say,
Hmm.
all those things become that much more important. Um,
Don't try to figure it out yourself anymore.
well, right. It's um, you need well having somebody that can help you implement and stay accountable is pretty much the key to success in everything. Would you agree?
Oh yeah.
And I personally, um, I was a competitive power lifter. I've been training for 30 years. I have Russian texts from the 80s translate. I mean, like, I have a coach.
Yeah.
I have a coach. My nutrition, I have somebody that helps me with my nutrition. I have somebody that helps me with my marketing. I have somebody that helps me with my LinkedIn. I mean, I that's the key, I think.
Yeah.
Um, it otherwise it's just becomes a tomorrow thing, and that's unfortunate because unlike big banks and some of these other institutions, there ain't nobody coming to save us.
Right.
It just isn't gonna happen.
Right.
So I think it's important to get help for sure.
Yeah. It just makes common sense. But I know a lot of people in business for themselves, like, I can't afford to hire someone to help me with my marketing or,
Well, right. I mean, you know, it becomes one of those things where, um, you know, what we've done is we've implemented um, monthly planning service. So for not a lot of money, $300 a month, outside of managing assets, um,
mhm.
we can really work to getting you on the right track, get your plan together, look at all these areas of your finances outside of the markets, proper insurance, estate, like all these really important things, um, and get somebody accountable and then invariably manage the assets comes if that's a thing. If not, that's fine too. Um, but the goal behind that, to be just totally transparent, is I found that there's a lot of friction to getting started.
Mhm.
My business has a lot of friction. Bring in all your statements, move it. It's not enjoyable. It's like a root canal. I understand, or worse. Um, so we've really tried to make an effort to reduce that friction
Mhm.
and allow people an easy way. Hey, look, if in 6 months, $1,800, whatever it is, we don't provide value as a multiple of that, hey, it's probably not going to work, and that's just fine.
Right.
That part's on us. But you can have the freedom to make that decision without going like, "Oh, I got to move my accounts again and everything's all over the place." And so we just want to remove that friction to try to help as many people as we can because, Ted, we're the first generation for the most part without pensions.
Yeah.
We're we're the 401k experiment generation.
Hmm.
Um, I'm, it's like the fast food experiment generation. I think in some ways
Yeah.
it's I don't, I'm concerned about the outcome for a lot of people, just not bad people, just lacking knowledge.
Right. It's overwhelming. It's complicated. It's like when I try to teach people marketing, it's like, don't even try to learn this.
No, and no, it's complicated, and it's not everything in life is Googleable. Is that even a word? Googleable.
Right.
You just can't Google your way or Chat GPT your way into this. You need human interaction. You need a trusted resource to go to, uh, um, and somebody that knows you, knows your family, knows your situation. Over time, you learn people's strengths and weaknesses and triggers,
Yeah.
and you can really start making a huge impact on people's family, and that drives me. I think that's just really cool.
Chat GPT must scare you.
You know what? Um,
Well, they wouldn't be your clients anyway if they were
no,
trying to.
I don't get. I view it like this. I don't get paid for giving information. I get paid for implementation and accountability.
Mhm.
So, I don't worry about it's just another version of the robo advisors that really didn't work. Great tech.
Yeah.
But, like all this crypto tech and all that, without somebody there to um help you make some of these decisions, you're relying on your own uh, um, behavioral finance biases, so to speak,
Mhm.
and your thinking is invariably flawed.
Yeah.
It's just impossible. We have blind spots. We have blind spots in marketing. We have blind spots. I mean, it's the human condition, right?
When I used to do trading years ago on my own, it was on emotion. Oh, I like that company, or I don't like that company. It was nothing to do with the facts.
Yeah,
Win some, you
correct.
lose some, but in the end, you
Y-
lose most of the time when you trade
Yeah.
on emotion.
So, that's the thing that we fight. So one of the things that the first thing that we do is we help our clients create a financial roadmap, which is a process that my mentor taught me, and it um, really gets to, I guess, the why we're doing this. So an example would be, I want to become financially independent by 60. I want to provide education for my children, and then when something like that comes up, like, hey, Phil, I want to buy some Ethereum. I look at their statement of financial purpose, if you will, and be
Mhm.
like, yeah, like, yo, yeah, we got a mismatch here, and usually that brings people back to the real reason why we're working together and the important things, and it stops that impulsive trading behavior, I guess, if you
Yeah.
will, um, because it doesn't end well. And heaven forbid you get lucky once, then you're really in bad shape, because
That's
then you
the
think
worst, like going to the
then
casino and winning.
then you think you know what you're doing, and you're pretty much doomed. So I would not recommend that. I think it's great that people are fascinated with the markets. It's been something I've been involved in, like I said, since 1988, which seems like a lifetime or two ago. Um, I think it's amazing. I wish more people would take interest in it, and it would be less intimidating for people. but thinking that just because you could put $100,000 in an account and start clicking away and you're gonna buy your own private island is not gonna happen.
I used to try to keep up with it years ago, and I can't anymore. It just moves too fast, and all the technology and oh god.
Again, like long-term investing is the way to go.
Yeah.
Long-term investors, compounding is the way to go. Have to think in terms of decades, not days. I have a great chart. If somebody wants to DM me or whatever, I'll send it to them, where actually your portfolio gets less risky, so to speak, the longer it's held. It's really cool. It's a JP Morgan chart. It's fascinating. So it just kind of gives you some perspective on the benefits of long-term investing. And I'll get back to my original statement. You can only be a long-term investor if your liquidity supports it.
Mhm.
Right. So it's very hard to be a long-term investor if your liquidity doesn't support it, or if maybe even cash flow doesn't support it, or whatever that is. But if you're watching it or freaked out by it, or my best clients will have semi-annual progress meetings.
Yeah.
They talk about the markets.
Yeah.
We'll talk about their grandkids, or we'll talk about some estate planning topics, or we'll talk about something. And these aren't, for the most part, like money doesn't matter people.
Right.
They're successful, but it's just, if you just think in terms of that, not only will your investments be better off, but your life will be way better off.
Yeah.
You'll be just, yeah. I mean, it's a rough way to go if you're, if you're preoccupied with every day, and every stocks in turmoil, and every some sort of financial apocalypse of the day type of thing, right? It's unnerving, and it's really counterproductive.
I remember when Yahoo Finance came out in the 90s, and I would check that sucker like 20 times a day.
Right? Refresh.
And before that, it was like you look in the newspaper when you got once a day, they updated all the stock prices.
Well, when I started, this is crazy you said that. When I started, you will remember, you have to like hunt on a Sunday on like the back of Barron's with a magnifying glass to try to find your fund.
Right.
And it had, and then it was like you get so frustrated you wouldn't even look. You just knew that you were just, in those days, you just send a check in every month, literally. So whatever it was, I mean, for me, it was like $100 a month or something. I mean, but you just knew that at some point it would pay off. And
Right.
it's, in a lot of ways, while you never knew exactly what you were doing, you never knew exactly what you were invested in, you never knew the fees, you never knew anything. The fact that you left it alone,
Yeah.
it was advantageous. So
Mhm.
yeah, cool stuff. I like I said, markets are fascinating. I think, if what I see too is people working with somebody that's just their portfolio guy.
Right.
Cool if this was like 1995, but it's not. And people really need all aspects of their financial life discussed, experience. I'm not an expert in everything. Like, far from it.
Yeah.
I have a team that's excellent at certain things, and I have a lot of attorneys and CPAs that I work with for some of that more detailed stuff.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm just smart enough to say, like, yeah, we got to get some expert advice here.
Yeah.
So it's important that you're getting that and not just being sold some goofy insurance policy or something crazy like that, which I see
Yeah.
all the time too, unfortunately.
Oh, I see that all the time too. People pushing stuff. It's like I know enough to know what they're selling.
Well, right. I mean, there is no upside without downside. There
Hmm.
is no safe. I mean, it just doesn't work. And I'm repeating myself, of course, but that's why liquidity is just the most important thing.
Yeah.
Right. And um markets, I think if you want to think of it as a bet, maybe you think of it like this. The bet is that society will continue to advance.
Yeah.
Hopefully we live a long time. It continues to advance for kid. I mean, that's the quote unquote bet, Ted.
Hmm.
Uh, um, if you don't think, if you want to live in a cave and that's not how you think, then eh, don't call me, please. Right.
Right.
But that's really, and the other part of that is we don't know what technology thing or something that we can't even conceive of, like iPhones, is going to revolutionize our world in 10 years, 7 years.
Right.
So quite honestly, we buy everything.
Yeah.
Yeah, we just buy everything, and then you'll know that, you'll know that you'll get it right in there somewhere.
Right.
It's
Yeah. So I'm gonna
that's
put you on the spot now.
Yeah, yeah.
I
Okay.
hear rumors you're writing a book.
I am writing a book. It's going to be called War and Peace. No, it's so full disclosure, Ernest Hemingway has nothing to fear from me. Um, but if you found value to any of the things that we talked about, I think the book's going to go into a little more detail. It's going to be a combination of my experiences, both personally and professionally, because that this is exactly uh, where I'm at, and along with all my friends who are going through varieties of the same thing. So the working title is going to be From Overwhelmed to Empowered: The No BS Gen X Guide to Financial Freedom. So if you want, uh, I'm on LinkedIn all the time. Find me on LinkedIn, Phil Telpner, Breakout Private Wealth. Just shoot me a direct message and I will send you a copy for free when
All
it's
right.
ready. And that'll be about probably the end of the month, beginning of May.
Oh, awesome.
Yeah, yeah. So I'm in
You're
like
close.
that last rewrite, stressing out about every last word, but it's really, the intent is really to just help people that are in a spot in their lives like we are, where you just making mistakes is not something that you can do.
Right.
You're not 30 years old where you can blow out in crypto and kind of regroup again. Most of us, I've got a lot of people counting on me.
Yeah.
So, this is geared to somebody that feels that way, and in a lot of ways, um, feels the squeeze or pull, if you will, of all those factors that we talked about, college age kids and aging parents and in-laws and your own retirement and all these other things that circle around in our lives that um, are all individually important, but collectively they just kind of force us to take our eye off the protecting our own finances,
Yeah.
so to speak.
Hmm.
So that's really who the book's
We
for.
went through that phase a few years ago, so we know.
right?
It all
I mean,
comes at you at once.
it's just amazing how that happens, right? And
Yeah.
everybody gets that version of it with, well, kids in college, or if you're helping them at some capacity professionally, law school, or whatever that next step is.
Yeah.
And then mom shatters her hip, and dad's memories going, and mother-in-law's fighting in some battle, fighting something,
Yeah.
and like, it's the whole thing just is, if you think having young kids is challenging.
Right. Taking care of your parents.
Yeah, well, but that's a big part of it, right?
It's a
And
circle of life.
yeah, and you know, most of us feel a certain sense of responsibility, if you will.
Yeah,
Uh, um, and that's totally cool, but it's a lot.
it is.
So, and then, unfortunately, you can have a situation like this where um, you're challenged in some sort of work environment. Um, so yeah, it's all important stuff. It is, if you're looking for a book on portfolio management, this is not it. This is going to be a good book for you to help connect your finances to that other part of your life that we just discussed.
Awesome. Hey, fellas, it's been great catching up with you.
You're the best, Ted. Thanks for
Thanks
having
for
me
your
on.
time.
This is so cool. Thanks for having me on. I appreciate it.
Breakoutprivatewealth.com. Talk to you soon.